Dr. Elst, nowadays we have a lot of Islamic iconoclasm apologia, that the Muslims did break the monuments of Hindus, they did break temples, they did desecrate them, but because the Hindus also did the same.
Yes. Well, that's the new line. The old line of the so-called eminent historians was to deny this iconoclasm. This is all Hindu propaganda, but the evidence is just too loud and clear. And so a big step was Sita Ram Goel's book, Hindu Temples, What Happens to Them, which lists about 2,000 of such temples destroyed by Islamic iconoclasm. And there are many more, like for instance about Kerala, which was the area of India that was most spared from Islamic iconoclasm. He gives but a few. But then someone from Kerala has written a book expounding this and giving everything that Tipu Sultan and the Mopla rebellion have destroyed, and that's still very many. So these 2,000 are only a beginning. You know, this is much worse. And then also, if one vandalized temple site is mentioned, that doesn't mean one vandalization. The Somnath temple has been destroyed 8 times. And so the same thing with the Ayodhya site. It has been a first temple, well, maybe not necessarily the first, because buildings also get dilapidated after a while and rebuilt and so on. But at any rate, the one that was standing there in 1030 was destroyed by Salar Masud Ghaznavi, the nephew of Mahmud Ghaznavi, who was then defeated a bit later by Raja Suheldev and Raja Bhoja in the Battle of Bahraich. So then they were seemingly rid of the Islamic problem for some time, but then in 1192 Muhammad Ghori wins the Battle of Tarain, and then the real Islamic invasion of the entire Gangetic Plain starts. And so in 1993 or 94, it is his nephew Shah Zuran Ghori who conquers Ayodhya. And this, I mean, that campaign, which goes all the way to Assam, is the largest orgy of iconoclasm in world history ever. And you heard, of course, of the Buddhist universities that get destroyed in that campaign by Bakhtiyar Khilji. All the temples in Kashi get destroyed. It's only a few places that are out of the way of the armies that get spared, like the Mahabodhi temple or like Khajuraho. But so everything gets destroyed. Aurangzeb, so as he got older, suddenly he got religion. And so he was already a Muslim, but now he started taking Islam serious. And so he said, you see, my father, grandfather, great-grandfather, they allowed all this idolatry to go on, which was sensible for an emperor, in the sense that an empire becomes a lot more stable if you give people some, let them do their thing as long as they remain loyal. And so he became, fanatic. And so he redid what all his ancestors had also done, what the Sultanate had done, what Mahmud Ghaznavi had done. Now, first of all, they think you're really, really village bumpkins to say a thing like that. You see, they think that you think that the world is not bigger than India. You see, Islam had a history before it came into India. And so over there was also plenty of iconoclasm. And, it starts with Muhammad. In Medina already he has several places destroyed. Graveyards dug up, and anything that had to do with paganism he was against.
So he actually lays down a blueprint for all that follows.
Well, here it comes. when he conquers Mecca, his hometown, he goes straight to the Kaaba, and the Kaaba has 360 idols, which with his own hands he destroys. And so that's the example that is always going to be given by Muslim conquerors who do the same thing.
Yes.
They are repeating the precedent of the Prophet, which is the basis of Islamic law.
Yes,
You
yes.
can't go to an Islamic court and say this is
Wrong.
bad, this is wrong, when the other party can say, but this is just the example of the Prophet.
Precisely.
And so that the Islamic iconoclasm is very Islamic. Now, the other argument that they use to say, oh, but this the Hindus doing, is that, well, actually, they were following the precedent of Hindu rulers who had done the same thing. First of all, they have never been able to show any Muslim text where they say, I am doing this because my Hindu predecessor did it. You know, they cite Muhammad or they cite Mahmud Ghaznavi and so on. They never cite any Hindu king. Then it is true that a few Hindu kings and many more outside India, Mesopotamia and so on, had a practice of kidnapping the main murti from a temple. They didn't destroy the temple. They certainly didn't destroy the murti. They did exactly the opposite. They took the murti with them and installed it in their own temple, and the worship continued. And in the other place, the loser's place, you know, they didn't have the murti anymore, but they were perfectly free to install a new murti.
One.
And again, the worship continued. So there, you see, the rivalry is only about a material object. Whereas in Islam, the idea is to destroy a religion. And so these idols are simply an embodiment of that religion. You see, if you can show me that a Muslim conqueror like Ghaznavi, when he went to Somnath, took the idol back home and installed it in his own mosque to worship it, well, then your point is made. But until then, you see, this argument is very silly.